Good night. How's everybody? How are you? I'm really thankful you are here with me to start this webinar. My name is Jaime Tacher. In English, my name will be James, and I'm really happy to share with you these brief moments. First, I want to talk about how we conduct this webinar with you. I will try to go as slow as I can do. You can put in the chat any question you want to. At the end, 30 minutes before the webinar starts, we can do a Q&A, questions and answer, whatever you wish to, whatever you feel to. It's fine with me. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I will try to answer my best to all your questions. If I don't have the answer, I will promise I will look for it. And if I have it, I will give it to you as soon as possible. I would like to introduce myself. I love to teach, so we're going to make this like a small coffee chat. And this is more like a honest review of the Spooky2 products more than anything. As I told you before, my name is James in English, or Jaime in Espanol. I'm a regular guy. I'm a lawyer. I'm a criminal lawyer. I love these products. I would like to state, obviously, that this will not be a medical advice for you. And this is my opinion, of course. It's not a Spooky2 opinion, of course. And what I'm trying to do is give you more than a medical advice. That will not be what I'm doing. I will give you a technical advice and a shopping advice. Because when I start this journey with the Spooky2 team and buying my stuff for healing my wife, I was lost. There's so much information and you are new to this world that you basically don't understand what to buy and why is each equipment, what each equipment does. So you basically feel like you have no idea where to begin. And if you are in this website or you are in this world of healing with Rife technology and Scalar technology, we can assume you have a serious problem or a problem you want to address. So you want to be in the right track and make the right choices, the right decisions for you, for your family, and what you're going to do. So after this brief introduction, let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name, as I told you, I'm Jaime Tacher. Right now, I'm 46 years old. I'm a criminal lawyer. I live in Mexico. So my living is actually for being a criminal lawyer. At the time of this conference, I'm 46 years old. I have 2 master's degrees in criminal law. I have 2 specialties in criminal law also. I'm studying right now a master's degree in nutrition, as well as a master's degree in exercise. In my journey, I like to study and write a lot. I have written 6 books. Some of them are exercise, nutrition, and how to heal with different components. I have all published them in Amazon. The reason I knew this company, or not this company, this technology would be the right word, was because of my wife, as I told you. She was diagnosed with a very strange type of cancer. We say, well, let's go and do what the doctor says, and let's go by the book, let's go by the rules. So they operate her. They took out the tumor, they analyzed the tumor, told that basically she only needs radiation. So I remember chatting with her and talking with her and telling her, well, for cancer, this was not such a big deal because you only get radiation. They haven't operated a surgery on you. They took out the tumor and basically that was all. That's how everything started with this stuff. Unfortunately, after the radiation ended, they checked my wife with a PET scan. And the results were that she was with metastases in her whole body. And that's when the doctors managed to tell us that basically there was no cure for her cancer. Yes, the Zoom is being recorded. Yes, Victor. There was no cure for this cancer. And my wife decided to fight this cancer by herself. And she did something very smart. And when you have these kind of situations, the patient should be focused on her illness, not on finding the cure. So she managed to tell me, well, found and look for everything you can find to help me. And I started learning and learning and learning. And in this curve of cancer, there's so many things you find and you just don't know where to start. And unfortunately, time passed. And this was in January. I believe it was until maybe April last year, I got into a Rife machine in Mexico. And the Rife machine I found was a very old Rife machine in a clinic that was lost in a small town here in Mexico. So we went back and forth, and we lost around 1 hour and a half driving, 1 hour and a half driving back, and the therapy was about 2 hours. So we were losing around 5 hours a day, and that was too much time, too much effort. So I decided to buy a machine and look for them, and I didn't find Spooky at the first. I found other brands, which now I think, because I know multiple brands, I can see the difference between one of them. At the beginning was a total nightmare, of course. When I started this, I buy this brand. It was really expensive. I almost spent $6,000 in the machine and the taxes, so I can bring it back to Mexico and all that. So I have that machine, and I found Spooky2. Honestly, I'm going to be real honest with you. At the beginning, I didn't like the name. I didn't like the ghost. This is serious. Why I have a small ghost and why it's called Spooky? Later, I understand everything, and everything makes sense. But I buy also I buy actually two plasmas, two Thanatron tubes with the central. They came the machine, and after the machine came, that my wife and after the machine came, it was, I want to be honest with you, it was a nightmare. There was so much information. I don't know if I buy the correct equipment for my wife. I don't know where to start. I didn't understand what was a frequency and how they managed to work and all that stuff. So that's basically my starting point of my journey. And that's what I want to say for you. So you can make a jump start where I did it. So you can make the best choices and understand why are you buying some equipment and why that equipment will be working for and what type of illness are you going to. I hope so far it's so good. Everybody understand the point of this presentation. And if you have any doubts, remember you can put it on the Q&A chat or whether a simple chat. I will go to both of them at the end of this webinar. So the first point is, what is rifing? We talk about rifing, but it's a concept we are not aware of. Rifing is basically the name that takes the technology that Dr. Royal Rife made to devitalize pathogens. That includes viruses, bacteria, and fungus. He almost said that basically 90% of all the illness we can have are caused by virus, bacteria, or fungus. That's basically everything. Rife was the first person in the world who used these electromagnetic frequencies for therapeutic purpose. He was the first one to use this technology to treat infections caused by these kind of pathogens. The modern equipment of Rife applies to the frequencies by disabling individual microorganisms by killing these frequencies. But also there is an immense number of frequencies that give us health benefits to make us better in our life, to make us focus, to relieve pain and detox, and all these kind of inventions. We can use this frequency. I don't know if you have heard that everything in the world or everything in the life is a frequency. We'll get that concept. But yes, basically everything we can see here is basically a frequency. That's the important part of this part of rifing. So what rifing means is basically the exposure to these electromagnetic fields characterized by these precise frequencies and harmonic. You will get these frequencies by a number of different devices. So you need to understand the concept that one thing is the frequency, and one thing is the device that's going to deliver that frequency to the body. This concept was for me not very clear until I started to understanding how this works, because you see the plasma, you see the cylinders, you see the remotes. So all that is basically how the frequencies are delivered into your body, and each one of them has a pro and a con. So we're going to get to those. So basically you understand this concept. Now, let me talk about Dr. Royal Raymond Rife. There are two sides of every story. So in one side of the story, they say he's a fraud. And in one side of the story, they say he's basically a genius. I'm going to tell you from my experience. If you remember, I told you my wife got cancer. She died on May 16, just a couple of days ago. It's a year from her disease. When I started this, my wife has this idea. And that's important because I'm going to connect all these ideas here. My wife's dream was to make a clinic, to help other people with this technology. So I started the clinic basically at the same time my wife was ill. The reason for doing this is I wanted to have some practice to understand what I was doing to her and helping other people at the same time. So even though I don't have much time like other people that have years of experience, I can say that I have a ton of clients or patients that are in the clinic. So I can level up a little the scale by saying I don't have that much time to doing this, but I have a lot of experience doing this because I need to heal a lot of people. The clinic started with one person, and right now have over 100 of different persons that go there, and everything is just mouth of word. And that has given me the opportunity to experience and experiment with these machines. And this is what I'm going to transmit you to this webinar. So let's talk about a little about Rife so you can understand the concept and why you're here. So this Dr. Rife, he was born on May 16. Oh, coincidence. The same day my wife died of 1880. He was very smart. I must say something that's going to be really important. In his early ages, he worked for Carl Zeiss, the famous brand of optics. And this has to be a very important part of his career because, as you can see in this photo, he made one of the biggest and most impressive microscopes that has ever been made by the man. He was developed in optics, and he began his studies in this area. From 1915 to 1920, he worked in his private laboratory, and his idea or his main point of this was he wanted to see the pathogens alive, because at that time there was no way to see the pathogens alive, and you needed to see them alive in order to understand the behavior and how you were going to kill them. So he has this dream. So by the end of 1920, he began to work with cancer. The limitation, as I told you before, was the microscopes at that time. So he started to make his own microscope. He thought that by doing this, he will be able to see the microorganisms alive. And that's where he made his famous universal microscope that was able to amplify the images several thousands more than in the previous microscope. After this, in 1938, he built another model of his microscope that was really powerful. It could magnify 60,000x, so 60,000 the size of the image. And by doing this, he was the first person in the world able to see these pathogens alive. In order to see them, he has to imprint light into the microscope so that he can see them live and movement. And that's why the idea came to him. What will happen if I subjected this microscope organism to different electrical type of frequencies? And he was basically discovering something really new. Nobody has ever thought this before. So he needed to start doing this by a trial and error. So basically he put one frequency, number one, look at the microscope, nothing happened. Frequency number two, and he went like this, into thousands and thousands of different frequencies. What he was looking for is one reaction in those pathogens, okay? So that's why he did it alive. So between 1921 and 1922, he built his first machine that was able to deliver these electromagnetic frequencies, and he called it the Rife Ray number 1. And he was assisted by Lee DeForest, which right now is the father of the modern electronic tubes. Now, you may know this is a Phanatron tube, but was actually the original idea of Dr. Rife. In 1933, he began to working with Philip Hoyland, who lived in Altadena, California, and they built this plasma bulb filled up with helium. This is very important because right now, if you go to the Spooky website and you try to buy a central, there will be two options, the plasma and the Phanatron tube. The Phanatron tube is built inside with helium. Helium is a noble gas. Basically, when you put electricity into noble gas, it becomes a plasma light. It looks really cool. The function is not to be looking cool, or it's nothing to do with this plasma idea we have. It's basically an antenna. In the early 1930s, Dr. Rife, the frequencies he was using were basically RF, radio frequencies, like the FM or the AM of the radio. But the only way to broadcast these frequencies around was using this type of solution. So basically, this phanatron tube or the plasma tube are just a small antenna that will broadcast the signal around whatever it is, around maybe 10 meters around, as in a circle, in a spheric circle around it. So that's the basic idea of this. You are broadcasting a frequency, a radio frequency, with this kind of apparatus. He noticed that by doing this, he can devitalize those pathogens. And that's basically what we are trying to replicate here with the Spooky2 equipment, okay? Now, as I told you before, he was applying these frequencies by trial and error, and he was pointing out which frequencies make something or not. And there is another thing we like to consider, like harmonics, like the resonance, and the kind of wave we were using. That will be part of another webinar, more advanced, but you get the concept. We are using basically radio frequencies. Now, I'm gonna make a small pause here because some of you may be asking, well, so you can heal by these frequencies? Yes, but you need to understand that the human can only hear from 20 frequencies up to 20,000 frequencies range, okay? That will be in hertz. Why is this important? Because the sound by itself can calm us, can put us quiet, can put us more zen, in a zen mood, or can also alter our behavior. That doesn't mean that sound can heal by itself. We need to go to higher frequencies that can be delivered, and we are not able to hear that frequencies with the human ear, okay? That's very important. Because if these were not correct, basically by singing we can get along, we can get well, and you will be killing all these pathogens just by screaming loud or changing your tone of voice. That will not happen. Now, the work of Rife was based on something called coordinative resonance. Remember I told about resonance just in a second? This principle is basically something I'm going to put in a second in a video. When you put two forks that are tuned to the same note, they will copy the sound one of each other. And that's basically the resonance. Rife believed that with this stimulation and an electronic frequency, he will be able to bypass the human tissue of the body and deliver these frequencies directly to the pathogens. That's basically the main idea of how this works. By doing this and by doing these trial and errors, he found basically, I believe there were 16 more frequencies, MRO. These frequencies are so important because there are the BX and the BY frequencies that are basically the same frequencies that right now we use to devitalize cancer or to kill cancer. So by 1934, he started some trials in California with patients with cancer and tuberculosis. He first started with the clinical cancer trial in San Diego, California. And in that trial, there were involved 16 terminal patients with cancer. Obviously, this is very important because I put these images here because everything is documented. So you can say it was maybe a log or whatever you want to call them, but the fact is, these 16 patients were all saved by Dr. Dremel Rife machines. 14 of them were healed after 3 months of these therapies, and the other 2 were healed another 130 days after. Very important for you to know and to understand is that the light of the plasma bulb that they were delivered to these people was not all the day on. The plasma bulbs, in order to be good for the body and to devitalize patients, need to be on and off, because if you don't put it on and off, you will turn it into heat, and heat will kill everything in an indiscriminated way. That's basically the radiation they use to kill cancer. It's not on and off, it's just heat, and it will kill everything. That's why that radiation will also devitalize the cancer cells as well as the good cells. Now, another thing important you should understand, very, very important you should understand here, is that the time of these frequencies were only for 3 minutes. That is why basically all the frequencies you're going to find in the Spooky2 database will work for 3 minutes. As I put here, using the Rife rate tree, it will be done by intervals on 3 days. Rife find out that the best you can do was not killing every day, just was letting the body to recover and recover. That's basically when you hear it, and when you buy these spooky machines, you heard about the terrain protocol, and then you heard about the hertz. Well, that's it. You need to let the body to detox, to not hurt so much until you feel bad because of the hertz. So going slowly is very important. You need to kill every day. And that's very important also because we will get to the equipment into which people tell, well, it's okay to have 2 remotes, for example. Yes, 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 5, because one of them will be for healing and one of those will be for killing. If you can manage to blend these together, you get the best results of everything. That's very, very important. Well, this was so important, so important that this is a very historical picture about Dr. Rife, when he was sitting with basically all the most famous doctors that were there at that time. And these doctors were very happy to find the cure for all diseases. That's basically the name of this photo, if I can remember. But there is a story, all these conspiracy stories about what happened with the machines, all that stuff. Basically, the machine was declared illegal in 1939, and all these people that were sitting with Dr. Rife, basically telling him he was the best doctor in the world, now they say, oh, we don't believe on him, we don't know him, so we don't want to have any business with him, and the machine was declared illegal. That's very sad, of course, and that's as far as I want to go into Royal Rife history. He managed to do all this really, really important stuff, and that will be the next starting point for this presentation. Now, if you remember, I told you that this principle of resonance was to copy a frequency from one instrument that was tuned in the same note as another instrument. This is a musical principle, and you can replicate this experiment wherever you want to. So I'm going to put a small video that you should see. It's very known video. It's a TEDx talk that talk about this, how these frequencies work and how this lab experiment is basically the Bible for anyone that's starting with this work in these Rife frequencies machines. So I will go to minute 206 and we'll leave the audio on so you can hear it.
Radiation, we didn't use any drugs. So what did we do? I have here 2 identical tuning forks, both tuned to the note A, the note an orchestra tunes to. These forks are both made to vibrate 440 times per second. We say their frequency is 440 hertz. If I tap this fork, putting little pulses of energy into it, the second fork will also vibrate in sympathy. And if I silence this fork, we just may hear the other singing its tone.
You see, as you can see, it's the principle of this resonance that's copying actually the frequency from one instrument to another. Now, this could be done in a very small scale, like this when you are looking or to kill a pathogen, or a very large scale. So I'm going to go to this minute here. He will talk about a bridge and how the bridge fall down. And at the same time as he talk about this bridge, I'm going to put a small video so you can see the actual footage of this bridge falling down. This is called the Tacoma Narrows Bridge, and it's also documented so you can see what happened with that bridge. And obviously, this is not only okay. So I'm gonna prepare these small videos to make a small picture-in-picture so you can see it. And there we go.
We have concrete and
So I guess I cannot put this picture-in-picture. So we hear first him, and then we go to the image of the bridge.
steel, a suspension bridge, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. Cars and trucks and buses are going over it every day. And unfortunately, where they built this bridge, there was a steady wind blowing across it. One day, this wind induces a small vibration in the bridge, hardly noticeable. But the frequency of the vibration matches the resonant frequency of some part of the bridge. And the vibration gets larger and larger and larger until the bridge collapses into the river below. A destructive resonant frequency. So on one end of the scale, we have a giant concrete and
so we heard this, and now let's look at the actual footage of the bridge. So here is the Tacoma Bridge. And you can see the sound, the wind is blowing, and it's becoming resonance. And the resonance, it's multiplying itself, becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. And as you can see, the bridge was strumbling just like that because the resonance matched the resonance of the building. This is why the resonance is so important. Everything started to move like crazy, and this is just really amazing footage. You can see that the winds keep blowing, the resonance keeps making itself bigger and bigger until the bridge starts to collapse itself like this. You see the bridge starting to collapse, breaking down, until finally it went to the water just like this. So that's the importance of frequencies, resonance, harmonics. When you mix all that together, now everything makes more sense. Why all this works and all this can help to devitalize any kind of pathogen, basically. And why it's also the opportunity we can have now also to use this technology to help each other, also to benefit, like for staying in a more relaxed mood, keep calm anxiety, depression, autism, be more focused. I use that a lot with my kids in school, for example. So you have this huge window of opportunities to use this machine and this equipment. So far, I guess we are okay and we understand all these principles. You can start putting all the questions here on the chat. I will address them at the end. But so you can put it so you don't miss anything here. Now, if you remember, I told you about these ghosts and the name is Spooky. Well, when I had this problem of cancer, obviously you try to look something really serious. And I was, come on, this cannot be true. Why do they sell this equipment and they claim to be very good? And you have a ghost there and your name is Spooky. Doesn't make any sense. I'm dealing with something really serious here. Because all the other companies has these bells and whistle names, very smart names and all that stuff. Well, my story, oh, Leslie, I will address that in a second also. What I'm going to address is my experience, okay? This is not the Spooky team experience. This is my experience in my clinic. Well, so as you remember, I told you I bought the older machines that were really expensive, 2 or 3 times the cost of the Spooky Plasma. And I remember I was in the chat with Penny the first time, and I heard this remote. And at the beginning, I'm going to stand up because I thought there was something you put into your belt or something like that. And that was a remote, something you can carry on. And I remember chatting with Penny, and she told me, no, the remote is to receive the frequency. They can be anywhere in the world. And I was, really, this sounds too good to be true, too spooky to be true. And I am very receptive guy, but I'm open to try everything. I don't believe at the first glance. I buy it, I test it, and then I make my own judgment in order to see if it works or not. So here comes the spooky part. So in March 2011, a very experienced Rife user named Johannes Stegman experienced something really spooky that changed his life. After buying a new Rife machine, Johan's friend made an astounding discovery that claimed that the DNA contained in fingernails on over the hair can transmit energy frequencies directly to the owner of that DNA, simply by placing that samples in a machine electrodes without applying the usual contacts to the skin person or having the handles. Johan was skeptical, but together with his friend decided to test the story on his daughter, Tanya, who is particularly sensitive to energy. To their surprise, they discovered that this worked perfectly. And how do you expect this phenomenon? Well, Albert Einstein called spooky action at a distance. And that's where the name comes. And the modern physics called quantum entanglement. Now, there is something very important I want to tell you about this quantum entanglement theory that I know from her firsthand. And as you remember, I told you my wife was sick from cancer, but there is something really important here. The grandfather of my wife was the brother of the person who made something really, really known in the 70s and 80s called the Silva method. They both were from Laredo, Texas. My wife was from Laredo, Texas. Very short in this story that has to be with this quantum entanglement stuff is that these both brothers, they went to the Second World War, and the first brother, named Jose Silva, was really sick from his back. And he started developing all the Silva method. And when he was developing this Silva method, he told his brother that if he was able to cure himself by using frequencies and mind power, he will believe it. Then he said, yes, I will believe it you. Long story short, he cured himself. And the Silva method were really, really big in the world. Well, why is it related to here? When you look into quantum entanglement, I'm going to post a small video here. This guy is very important. He managed to make some experiments. Cliff Baxter, he made this book called Primary Perception. And basically what he did was to take a leaf of a plant, and he worked in the CIA with the polygraph that's used to detect lies. Basically what's detected is the frequency of your body when you lie. So he cut a part of the leaf and he take it thousands of kilometers far away from where he was. And he connected the original leaf, the original plant to these electrodes, and he used a cutter or a knife to cut the leaf in the other part of where he was doing the experiment. Astonishing, the plant that had the electrode respond to the cut of the leaf. When I heard this, I was like, yeah, this sounds really too good to be true. This is kind of a good story. Well, something really interesting happened here. I was doing this video for my website, and my mother-in-law was here because we were in the part of the grieving, and she saw this image of this guy, Baxter, and she told me, I know this guy. And I was, how do you know him? Well, he conducted experiments in the Silva method about quantum entanglement. And yes, he did the plant stuff, and I knew about it when I was a child, because that's the way you can send energy without any distance, regardless of time or speed. So that led me to something really weird. And I understand most about this Spooky2 part from a first hand of my mother-in-law that was actually the daughter of the creators of the Silva method. So everything started to work around. Now, I'm going to enter to this part to understand how this works. First, we have the remote, which is a really important part. I think basically the breakthrough of the Spooky will be the remote for me, Scalar machine, of course, and of course the center. Those three for me are the breaking points in this technology that maybe no other company have, and they're really, really important. So basically, how does the remote works? Well, using the quantum entanglement, the remote has a small scalar plates inside and a magnet to magnify this signal. You put your nail there, and basically the remote will send the frequency to wherever you're in the world. This sounds really spooky, really unbelievable. Honestly, at the beginning, I will not believe it until I start using it with my mom, with my kids. And it's just impressive. How can you heal a person at a distance? It's really impressive. The most important part of the remote is the remote has no limitations. What do you mean by no limitations? Well, we're going to talk about frequencies here in a second. But as I told you before, we can hear only up to 20,000 hertz frequency. Above that, the human ear is not able to hear that. And the different kind of machines that we will use for healing have limitation in hertz. I will explain also what the hertz so you can understand and land all these concepts. So you don't only talk about it without knowing what's going on, what's happening. So basically the remote is really important. I think everyone should have at least one into his arsenal of healing machines. The beauty and the con of the remote is basically the remote, if you can put a number on it, will only deliver between 20 and 30% of the actual amount of energy that the plasma tube can bring to you. So the healing time is bigger. However, you have the pro side that you can use it 24/7, okay? So that will balance the limit of the power with the actually time you can use it. So it's very convenient to use it. Give me a second, Victor. I will address that in a moment, okay? Now, I will talk about John White also because he deserves to be known as what he did. So John White has been following all these developments and increasing with a lot of excitement. And after he discussed something with Johan and Hank, he decided he will write a new software that will embrace the functionality of what he called a write USB. And he will break something really important to have not unlimited, but enough generators connected by the USB ports to a computer. So he managed to make this software to work up to 126 generators connected to the computer. Okay, that's the maximum amount you can have. That would depend, obviously, on your computer, the USB ports, etc., etc. This is basically the original Spooky2 software. That's also really, really important. And in my opinion, not other companies have. I've been doing and dealing with other companies, so I can talk about it with no problem because I don't work for Spooky. I bought the machines, I have my clinic, I'm totally independent, so I have no string attached to them. So I can say the good and the bad. And the Spooky2 software is really, really good. The bad is not so easy to understand. That's something we must know. And that's basically a stepping stone when you start this course. So that's why I'm here with you guys. Okay. Also, I need to make clear that all this information I took for the book called The Frequencies of Writing, 3rd edition, by Marcelo Alerghetti. Marcelo gave me the permission to use all this material. So if you want to look more into this story, know more, because there is more story about Rife, I don't want to take so much. I already take 40 minutes in this part of the presentation. That's the first part of the presentation. You can go to Marcelo's book. You can find it on Amazon. And you can go in depth to this story about Spooky, John White, Royal Rife to know more. Okay? Well, so let me continue. So far, any doubts? You can put it on the chat, on the question and answer, and we will go through a frequency. We used to talk about frequencies like donuts. We don't know what they are, but we think we know what they are. And here is the question I'm going to ask you, and you can think it briefly for 10 seconds. Do you really know what is a frequency? Or you just use the word like nothing happened? This is really important. When I start this, I use the word frequency like nothing. And then I went with one of my cousins that's very smart. He's an engineer and he knows a lot of frequencies and of software programmation. And I told him, well, explain me what a frequency. And I love the way he taught me that. He told, well, his name's Artemian. He told me, let's imagine this. I called you this Monday. And I called you the next Monday. And in 3 weeks, I called you the next Monday. How often I'm calling you? Well, you're calling me every Monday or one time a week. So let's add the words. With what frequency I'm calling you? Once a week, 4 times a month, or every Monday. And basically you understand the concept of frequency. Frequency is an event that's continuously repeated over X amount of time. If that amount of time is a second, then we use something to measure that frequency. For example, and I'm going to be real clear here, if you drive and you tell me, hey, I want to reach from California to Phoenix, from San Diego to Phoenix in the United States, how much time I'm going to make? And I answer you 100 kilometers, that will make no sense, right? Because the kilometers is a way to measure distance, but you are measuring distance and time. So my answer should be, if you are driving at a speed of 120 or 100 kilometers per hour, then you will make, so I'm just inventing, 3 hours. So you are measuring distance along with time. So we are measuring here the frequency. So we are measuring a repetitional event in a certain amount of time. When we do that, we call it hertz. Hertz is basically how many times this event repeats in 1 second. So when we talk about, for example, here is 1 second. This goes up and goes down. This is called a cycle, okay? And here the cycle is being done twice, 1, twice in a second. So we will say this frequency is repeating 2 hertz. It's repeating 2 times over 1 second. Okay? Got this clearly? So when you open your Spooky2 software, you understand what you're doing. If you see a frequency that's 40,000 hertz, that means that frequency or that event in time is repeating 40,000 times in just 1 second. So when you see blinking the photon tube or the plasma tube, forget about it. You are not looking at what's going on actually. It's only what the eye can look at that moment. But it's blinking, the frequency is repeating thousands and thousands times every second. So get that concept, because when I started, I looked at the photon tube. It was really cool to look at it, and it was always repeating 1, 2, 3, 4 times. No, countless times a second, because I was trying to heal cancer, brucellosis, maybe COVID, or I don't know, whatever you want. So the repetition is 1,000 times a second. That's basically hertz. So if you are talking about 20,000 hertz, you can also make it shorter. So you can talk about 20 megahertz. Megahertz is 20 times 1,000, okay? So basically, that's why we're talking. Here's another example so you can understand it. So from here to here is 1 second. From here to here, you have 1 cycle, 2 cycles, 3 cycles in 1 second. Sorry, in 1 second. So the frequency will be equal to 3 hertz. Okay? Please just put me feedback on the chat that you understand this concept, because this is what you're going to be dealing with. Just, I understand, I'm okay with it. So I leave this point really, really clear here. This is not everything about frequency. This is just basically an introduction so you can understand how the software works. And for example, if you have the cables of the Spooky2 plasma, there's one that says amplitudes. That's basically what they're talking about, those cables. Okay, all this stuff. Thank you. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, Sonda. Perfect. So I will continue. Now, we remember we talk about everything in the world is frequency, and that's very nice. And when you hear the quote of Nikola Tesla that if you want to understand the world, start talking about frequencies, that's very romantic. But now let's understand what's going on. Why it's real and why it's important to understand this concept. Well, as I told you before, a repetition of event in a time is a frequency, okay? The more this event repeats in time, we are able to see it, to feel it, to heal it, or to feel it like heat. I would like this part about the gamma rays, because we talk about Hulk and the Avengers. Well, they do exist, the gamma rays. As you can see in this chart, the smaller the amplitude, not the amplitude, sorry, the word is the cycle is, we have more difficult to see it, or to feel it, or to hear it, or to whatever you want to call it. So basically, if this is the full spectrum of frequencies, we can see these colors. You have heard the word for the control remotes of your TV. It's an infrared that we believe is below the red. So in the spectrum, we can see until red, and what's below the red? The infrared. So this cannot be captured by the human eyes. Then we have the microwaves. For example, your microwave oven is in this spectrum. Also, your router, if you are doing Wi-Fi, they will be here or here. Then we have the radio. That's important. That's where we want to be focused, here in the Spooky, the radio waves. We have the ultraviolet, that means above the violet color, and the X-rays, okay? So basically, everything is a frequency, and that's real. The heat is a frequency. A laser beam is a frequency. A radiation that they use to kill cancer, it's also a frequency. The colors are a frequency. The sound is a frequency. So now you understand why this concept, like everything in the world is a frequency? Yes, this is the real deal. And that's something you need to understand to come here and know what are you doing and why are we healing or killing with radio frequencies. So I go back to the beginning of my presentation when I talk about the plasma tube. If you remember, I told you that basically the plasma tube or the phantom tube is just an antenna that works with the gas. Helium or argon, both of them are noble gases, that when you put them electricity, they light up. But we are not here for the color. Looks very cool. But the important is they will emanate this frequency, just the same way as your Wi-Fi router will do. That's 2.4 gigahertz or 5.0 gigahertz. So they are emanating these frequencies all the time. People will ask, and in the forum they say, well, these frequencies are not, cannot kill us or do something like us, we are exposed. Let me tell you something. We are exposed to frequencies 24/7 because the spectrum is already taken. Let me explain this. The governments need to put this in order. So the government says what part of this spectrum is taken, everything is taken, and what type of frequencies are there. So you have the AM frequencies, FM frequencies, microwave frequencies, radio, infrared communication, blah, 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 submarines communications. All the spectrum is already taken, okay? That's basically, if you notice, when you turn on your plasma machine, sometime will make noise in some electronics that are nearby. Or if you have your Wi-Fi router, and if you're a techie guy like I am, and you get inside your router, you will see, even though it's in a frequency, it changed the carrier. Because if you have a Wi-Fi router in your home, and your neighbor has another Wi-Fi router at the same frequency, you will get noise in the signal. So they need to change the carrier so you can avoid that noise. And that's basically what they do with the Wi-Fi routers. So yes, everything is a frequency. Okay? I hope to get this clear. Please again, tell me in the chat if you got it. If you have any doubts, we can go this a long time. But what I do intend is have another webinar in which I can explain in depth frequencies, the wavelengths, how they work, and how can you use them so you can understand what you are doing. The beauty of this is that the Spooky2 software has already done all this hard work for us. So you can choose from the software, when you go to the empty pre-shells tab, you can choose what type of wave you're going to use, and then you just put the frequency in it, okay? So you have to understand one thing is the frequency, and another thing is the wave you are using. Just for big example, the sine wave, this is basically a sine wave, up and down, is very smooth. They are usually the best for healing purposes. The square waves are usually for killing. Everything is energy. Does this mean that the frequency is the same concept? Yes, of course. Energy is a frequency. Of course. Energy is just a way to measure the frequency. If you want to measure the energy, for example, the heat is energy, and it's a frequency. Okay? So this is basically the important part of this. Something I want to address, because I saw that in the forum a lot. They say, I'm killing or healing. Well, doesn't matter. A frequency is a frequency. When you say you are killing or healing, you're talking about the effects of that frequency used by a wavelength. This is important. So what you are trying to look for is what type of wave is better for killing a pathogen or for healing. But the frequency usually will work in both lengths. So you are trying to look which wave will give you the best effects in your procedure, okay? Sarah, I just said it, doesn't matter it's slow or fast. Frequency is a frequency. You need to know if that frequency will help the illness you want to address. How you know that? Trial and error. The same way as a medical lab, I'm gonna touch this topic now. It's gonna be very interesting. If I'm gonna leave this slide here, but I'm gonna touch this topic here. You're gonna like it. If I tell you that an aspirin will cure a headache for everybody in the world, that's a lie. There are a lot of persons that will get the headache done with an aspirin, they will feel better, and there are a lot of people that will not. The same happened with the frequencies. There is no magic frequency that will heal you or kill a pathogen, even though they are tested with thousands and thousands of people, because the effect of the frequency in every person is just different. We only have 16 frequencies that were tested long enough to know they will do something against cancer. And even though you cannot guarantee a person with cancer will get healed with those frequencies, okay? So we have this huge database in Spooky2, the best database in the world, but even though that will not guarantee that your illness or your problem will be solved with the frequencies listed there. That database is showing you that those frequencies have been proven to work with a lot of persons in the world. And I'm going to take this very important because that is the best beauty about Spooky. Is the generator X or the generator X Pro. Because when you can do a biofeedback, you're actually looking for the best frequencies for your body. This is very important because you don't need actually that database. I'm gonna skip a little forward so you can understand this concept very, very important. The most important part of the Gen X, in my belief, is it can do a biofeedback scan. The biofeedback scan is not a diagnostic tool. We are very used to put a name on the illness of something. That's called cancer, that's called flu, that's called hemorrhoids, that's called whatever. We are very square that. And we are doing that because that's actually what science needs and the labs need to sell the stuff. I'm not against any lab. I believe in normal pills. I do believe them. But we are very used to that. And the biggest issue here we have is we are not doctors, or mostly of the person that's here tonight, they have an issue, they want to solve it by yourself because you don't trust your normal doctor, or you want to find a difficult way to address it. So we are not doctors, we cannot prescribe something on ourselves, or we should not do that. And the beauty of the biofeedback scan is that it will find the frequencies you need for, regardless of the name of the illness. That's why it's not meant to be a diagnostic tool. It's a tool helping you to find that frequency that will help your body. And this is the huge leap among any other equipment, because no other equipment has this kind of stuff. There are some other equipments that call the NLS. I used to have them, I bought them, I don't like them. I rather focus on, I don't care the name of the illness or the disease, I do care you're going to get healed. And that's basically the most important part. And basically the process you are using is a process used by the hackers named brute force. So you are constantly giving new frequencies, new frequencies, new frequencies until you find the frequencies that are going to heal you. And that's the beauty of it, okay? So that's the real about frequencies. We're still trying to find those magic numbers, but the study or the subject of the study, that's the human body, is different on each person. So even though we find the most common frequencies for an illness, that still not guarantee you're going to get healed by using those frequencies. And this is very important, because the way I heal or treat clients in my clinic is by doing this. I use the plasma with the generator X, doing biofeedback scan daily. Then I kill them. Well, I kill the pathogens or the virus or the fungi or the bacteria, or using the plasma with a session about an hour and a half. And for me, the remote is the support. Then I go to the Spooky2 lists. I found all the frequencies for that type of disease. I put them on the remote, and I give those treatment over the remote. So I'm working the problem in two different ways. I'm giving the person the right frequencies for him using the plasma, and I know those frequencies will work 100% sure, because that's what the generator X told me. So there is no doubt about it. And I use the remotes as support, not my main treatment, as support. Why? Because I have no certain that the frequencies on the database will heal that person or not. So I'm throwing everything in a brute force way in the remotes. By doing those, I'm getting the best of both worlds. I didn't told you, but I have a problem with my mind. I have a little of a disorder of autism that made me very functional, 100% functional, and I got the best of the autism. So I'm learning all the time. I need to study, to study, to study, to study. In one of my times, and I actually do it right now, I trade currencies. And there is a very good phrase I like in the currencies. You are not there to be right. You are there to make money. If you take that phrase into this world, it will be, I'm not here to be right, but to find the cause of your disease or the right frequency. I'm here to heal you. If the remote heals you or the plasma, I don't care. The thing is, I heal you. And that's why I use that method. And so far has given me great, great results. Okay? Everything to this point is correct and clear. Please put it on the chat so I can see I'm going the straight way. I'm not talking like crazy here for an hour. Perfect, Victor. Now, I'm going to address this part. What you should buy and why are these stuff for? The best of the best is the plasma. Okay? The plasma, as I told you, is basically a machine that will amplify the power of the generator so it can give enough energy to light up a gas that could be helium or argon, that will be the phanatron tube or the plasma tube, so it can emit or broadcast a frequency. That's the best you can have. In my opinion, I like more the phanatron over the plasma tube. There are several differences. One of them has a more exact way to deliver these frequencies. And what I found in my clinic is after a time using the plasma tube, the plasma gets hot and you cannot cover it because it needs air to cool down. The phanatron does not get that hot. And when you buy Spooky Central, it comes with a very nice pouch bag that you can put over the phanatron tube and simply not showing the lights. Why? Because when you take your therapy, I usually take them overnight, not overday. So I put it running overnight and I don't want the light to disturb me. You cannot do that with the plasma tube because it gets too hot and it can break. So phanatron is the way to go, in my opinion. Also, I would love to, instead of having an XM, sorry, I would love to use it with a GenX. Why? Because I run a loop into which I usually put the pads, make a biofeedback, and then send the frequencies straight and directly to the phanatron tube. You have another advantages, the PMF, which you can use to imprint frequencies in our stuff. We can have another video from that. You have the contact, which I love it, the contact. I think it's the second best way to deliver a frequency. The first, in my opinion, will be the plasma tube. The second will be the contact, and the third will be the remote. Just my opinion. If anyone has a different choice, feel free to feel it. And you have the ultrasonic. So if you are not on a budget and you can spend this amount, this is the way to go. Remotes. I told you remotes are really, really, really important. You should have at least one. If you have enough money, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 remotes. Why? Because remotes can send you detox programs, healing programs, killing programs, and it's basically your second line of defense. Let me go with the remotes. Now, they are really, really good. Now, where can I use remotes? Remotes are a great machine. You can use them using the generator XM or the generator X or the Gen Pro. If you go on a budget, go for the XM. They will do the work. They work perfectly. They are great. If you have more money, right, a good time to buy a generator X. They are not cheap, $500, but they are very good. And if you have more money, go for the Pro. Next, electrodes. As I told you, for me, it's the second best way to deliver energy. You can use them with the booster. They are very, very, very good. I like this a lot for treating problems where you want to see immediate results. And when I say about immediate results, for example, I use them to treat Parkinson. What I'm doing right now is I treat a 2-hour session of Parkinson, 3 minutes each time. And with the patient, I start to writing down which frequency stop the trembling in her hand. And that's basically the electrodes, because they deliver the frequency and I can see if their hand's shaking or it's stable. And then I start to put in those frequencies, and from there, I can start doing the correct program for that person. That doesn't mean that program will work for any other person. It means that it will work for that person in particular. So electrodes is really good way to do it, really cheap, really cheap, and it will deliver the job done. Scalar, it's a beauty. In personal, I don't use a Scalar connected to a generator. I simply use Scalar as plain and simple. I have 3 of these machines, one in my house, along my sides of the bed. I can sleep really good. My kids also use them. And I put in the coils. Here's the coils. Here's the coil. I put there usually aromatherapy that helps us to have a very good sleep, healing, build calm. Is just a very good option. I will not buy it at the first time. It will be basically second. I will go first with the plasma if I have enough money. If not, I will go with the Gen X or an XM. And once I have those, I will go with the Scalar. We already talked about the PMF coil. We also have the laser, which is very good. And this is something you should have at home. I love it. I didn't know about it. I just recently wrote a book about colloidal silver that I'm now just translating to English for the uses of colloidal silver. Colloidal silver is just a wonderful healer. I think it's a complement or should go along with the plasma or whatever other machine you have, because colloidal silver is just great for the skin, for burns, has so many uses. So you should have this. And also the steering, this is a steering machine. You put this in a cup so it can steer. It's very useful. It's very easy to make your colloidal silver with this stuff. Now the generators. When you go to the website, you don't know what to buy. Their very main difference, and the most important, is the price. 100 versus 500. This one, the generator X or the X Pro, can make biofeedbacks. These can also make biofeedbacks by using a device that you can plug into your ear onto the finger, but they are not very efficient. You need not to move. They take much time. They work, but I will go for the Gen X. If you're on a budget, then you can start with this. The beauty about the system, about Spooky2, is you can start slow, and then you can start building time and and buying more stuff and add it. I start, as I told you, with not so little. I buy 2 plasma from the very beginning, but after that I start buying generators. At this time, I will speak, I own 13 plasmas, 13 Celtrans, that will be the board, and over 100 of remotes that are distributed in Gen X and Gen XM. Basically, I must have around 25 or even 30 Gen X and 40 or 50 XM. So never is enough. They work very good. I mostly use them with the remotes, as I told you before, and I use the Generator X with the plasma machine. So after this part, I will go to the Spooky2 site to talk about what to buy. Okay, next slide. Difference output. So with the XM, you can only have one machine working, for example, one remote. And you can have the Spooky2 for 2 machines working, like 2 remotes. The other difference is the Spooky2 XM will work with the Spooky Pulse. That's the way you can have the biofeedback. And the Generator X or the X Pro will work with pulse, current, and phase and angle. Current, phase, and angle are basically different ways to measure the electricity going through your body. Okay? There's also the difference that it can be standalone. The Spooky2 Gen X is a standalone, and the generator no. Both is important. Standalone means you can unplug it from your computer once you save your programs there, and you can take it anywhere. Doesn't mean it can work 100% with a computer. So Spooky2 needs a computer to run. What type of computer? I usually buy refurbished machines over eBay that are $200 or cheaper. I usually buy laptops because I like that they have already an integrated battery. So it's like having already a UPS in your machine. Something really important, the processor should be i3 or i5, and you should have at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. RAM is very important because the Spooky2 software is designed for your 32 bits architecture. This means it consumes a lot of resources from the memory, not from the processor. Also, it's important for you to buy a machine with a solid state drive because the library is so big, you will reduce a lot of amount of time by doing this. So you don't need to buy an expensive machine. I also recommend you to buy a machine that's designated only for this purpose. You can work on Windows 7, Windows 10, or Windows 11. I love Windows 11. Any of these 3 windows will work, no issues with it. I suggest you to disable the option of having out of dates, so the machine will not restart. I can show you in another webinar how to make the machine restart automatically, and from the very beginning, start pulling the Spooky2 software and just run it. That's what I do in my clinic. In this case of the energy is gone, I have made a whole sequences, so when the machine starts, it goes directly to the Spooky2 software. Now, this is a new development, the GenX Pro. I only own one of these. It's a great tool. It has 4 main differences against the GenX. It has an improvement frequency resolution, an offline frequency resolution that's increased, an improved built-in amplitude modulation. You remember when we talk about the frequencies? Well, the amplitude modulation is part of that. Why is this important, these 3 features? Because the more exact the GenX is, the better it will deliver the frequencies to your body. And if you're using remote, for example, that remote has no limitations in the way it will deliver the frequencies, you will get the best of both worlds using a GenX Pro. The firmware is basically the the chipset that's upgradable. That means that in the future they find any major changes that can be built to this generator, they will be built, and you can always be top of the line. Something really important, I talk about the biofeedback. That's not a diagnostic tool, so you need to use it with the STIM cable and the pads. It's really, really, really a very good solution if you're in a budget. You can buy just the GenX, the booster, TIM pads, and you're ready to heal. Now, the sample digitizer is something I love. When one of my family members have like flu or something that's involved a fluid, I usually put the sample there. I run a Spooky2 hunt and kill program or a scanning and hunt and kill or scan and run program, or I made my advanced biofeedback loop. And this is just like magic because I put the sample digitizer there, they nail the control, and basically it's reading, killing. And in 1 day or 2, you are perfectly fine if something not so big. Like, for example, we're talking about the flu, problems in the stomach, diarrhea. This is the way to go. Now, if you buy, there's 3 different stuff you need to consider. The budget you're having, or 4, sorry. The purpose, the computer, which I already talked about, and the time you want to get healed, okay? I already told you at the beginning, this is not a medical advice, this is a shopping advice, okay? And a technical advice. We go now to the Spooky2 Mall, and I want to show you how to use the Spooky2 Mall here. Well, you need to go basically to products, then you go to all products, and you will have here the new user kits. At the beginning, they have so many products, you don't know where the hell to start. It's like so many information, like what I'm doing here, I don't know where to start. And you have kits. Okay, let's break it down so you can make the best choice when you buy. If you're in a budget, but you still have $345, you can go for this. This has everything to heal you. have the bars, so you can have contact mode, the booster with which will amplify the frequency of the power, not the frequency, the power of the XM. You have one remote. You have also your biofeedback equipment. You have TIM pads for reading and healing. You have your TINS cable. You have the other biofeedback tool there. You have a laser, and you have this. This is another laser. You can use this for acupuncture or for healing problems in the nose or in the ears. So this will be the first thing you can do if you are on a budget. Now you can have two remotes. Basically, this by two, $560. That's important because you can start healing and killing at the same time. This will double the speed of this, will go faster, you will heal faster. You have more money, then you go with the Gen X and the Gen X Pro. Beauty, now you can use the sample digitizer, which cannot be used here. You have two remotes, you have still the laser, both lasers, and you have the PMF coil, so you can imprint frequencies. Yes, you can imprint frequencies in a sticker, and they will still be good for you. Or you can imprint it in wire, for example. You can do biofeedbacks, so you can know exactly the best way to heal yourself, and it's way much better to do it here than to do it here. If you have more money, then you should go to the plasma. The plasma, we have two different kits. One will go to the plasma with only one generator. This will be like the starting point. I will suggest to go for the plasma, one generator XM and one generator X, so you can have the biofeedback and deliver the frequencies strictly to the phantom. Okay? I know this is $2,000 and $2,500. I know it was cheap. If you can, do yourself a favor, and this is a very, very good point. If you cannot do this, remember what I told you, the TIM pads that are here will also work. This is the second best way to heal, in my opinion. The third will be the remote. No, Margaret, you cannot do that. Now, as I told you before, the Scalar generator, the Scalar kit would come with one generator and with Scalar machines. I usually use plain and pure Scalar with the coil's frequency. This will be very helpful if you have an issue that will require more healing than killing. Or you have anxiety, depression, sleep, that kind of stuff. This is great. For me, in my opinion, this will not be my first choice. It will be my second choice. If I have enough money, I will go for the plasma and the Scalar, and that will have basically the best of both worlds. Okay, then they manage and have them as upgraded kits, but something very important. You can start directly with the remote kit. If you do this, you only get the remote and the generator, so you cannot make biofeedbacks. And in this way, you are managed to only use the frequencies on the Spooky2 data. You can buy this also, the Generator X or the Generator X Pro remote kit that will come with two boosters and two remotes, so you can do healing and killing at the same time. However, this has no TIM pads or TIM cable. You need the TIM cable and the TIM pads in order to make biofeedback scans. Okay, so maybe you need to add this to this. And that's basically why, if you start adding, maybe this is a small solution. Maybe you can save $100 with this, but you get more stuff in the other part. And believe me, you are going to be ending buying everything. Okay, because this works so good that you start buying and buying because you see the results. Okay, here's the option I told you about the single generator kit. It's around $1,000 with $125, $1,800, sorry. This is the version with one XM, and I remember with one plasma. This is a very good point to start. If you're on a budget, but you still want to be serious treating yourself, start with this. Scalar, I told you, and also told you about the silver generator kit with this one or with this one. Colloidal silver, remind this, I love it. I made a book out of it. I will see if I can give you this book for free so you can have all these options. You will love it. Well, with that, we'll conclude this part. Here you can buy stuff separately. There's another option that's very good. You can buy the port, the USB port hub. It's real good. I'm a techie guy. This works very good equipment. It's very good constructed, very good materials. You can also buy the 5 volts power supply in order to connect 4 generator XM, not generator X, XM to the same power supply. You can buy all this stuff later also. And the Teams contact kit, I found it to be very useful if you want to deliver the frequencies by contact and you're sleeping. Instead of having something that's glued to your body like the Team pads, you can wear this, the socks, the gloves, the elbows, the knees pad, and this works really, really good. Okay, so basically with this, we will cover all the websites, and you will have a good starting point. This is one of my setups. So as I told you before, I own lots of stuff. This is the kind of computer I used to buy. I just put all these controls, and as I told you before, I use them as a backup. These are not my main solution. My main solution is the plasma, and the remotes are my second line of defense or attack, as you want to describe it. This is how I do my clinic. I usually, with the pandemic, we have in Mexico very nice movie theaters. They closed, and they were selling this repo set that were actually the VIP repo set of the movie theaters. So I bought them. And basically my idea in the clinic is you go to the clinic, you lay down, you watch a Netflix movie, and there you go. And they start doing the biofeedback, and then it will go automatically to the plasma point. This is how the clinics look alike. As I told you, that's my idea for healing people. I strongly believe that when you heal a people or a person, they should not feel like they are in a clinic. They should feel like they're like that. No, they are watching TV, because that's a very important component of healing yourself, not feeling treated, not feeling in a space like hospitals. I don't like hospitals. I don't know if there's anyone that like them. So that's why I built this space like this. Okay. Now I want to share you some of my experience. This is not a Spooky experience. This is my experience in the clinic. This should not be intended as a health advice. I'm telling you what I have done in the past, what are my results, and I'm also bringing a phrase from the training. Previous results will not guarantee future results. Okay, the results I got are my results, and this will not guarantee you will get the same results, because there are full protocols to be followed, and depends in a very large variables. The person that's very constant, the type of frequencies you're using, or feedback you're using, the stage of the illness. So there's a lot of stuff. So this is not meant to be a medical advice or a Spooky2 advice. This is only a chat of what has happened in my clinic, my results, and this is this. This is skin cancer. I made my own protocol for skin cancer, and I managed to heal this person in a stage 2 in 3 months, totally healed. These are bruises. She got these bruises for falling out from a bicycle. So I managed to do this in just 3 days by using colloidal silver, and as well as Rife frequencies for healing. So you can see how the bruises just went out in 3 days. This is a stroke. This patient had a stroke that was having all this pressure in her foot. In just 6 days, she was like this, using frequencies again. This is my kid. He has allergies, and he has allergies to cats. So I bought a cat because our loss, her mom died, as I told you before. So we tried to manage with a pet, didn't work out. So here are his allergies. 30 minutes after, using the Spooky2 machines with pads. That's what I told you, the pads are really good. He was clear as nothing. And this is important. This is not a spooky advice. This is my experience. And we did it because their mom was totally agree. We have to do this. And I'm going to tell you about this experience, okay? There's a parasite called Brussels, okay? It's a very strong parasite. And when you have it, you have pain and you have fever, very strong fever that lasts for 5 or 6 days. And you cannot get the fever down regardless of what you do. So the mother of this kid, who was 2 years old, I met her on the elevator of my office, of my clinic. She was crying, she was desperate. And she told me, well, my kid has fever. The fever is just not going down. I'm going to take him to the doctor. I don't know why. I told her, bring it to my office and we can help him. I know this girl a long time ago. So he brought the kid. And I remember I put Netflix, I put Cars, the movie, and the kid was looking at the cars. And I wrote the frequency to slow down the fever. I run it on the plasma. And after 20 minutes, he went away. And she returned 3 hours later. The kid, she was crying. And I told her, what's happened? I told me, I'm really thankful for you, because at the moment we step out of the clinic, her fever went down from 40 to 36 degrees centigrade, and he has no more fever. He's okay, so I like to come with you. I told her, I'm not a doctor. I have this machine. I'm learning to use it. If you want, we can try it on your kids. And she told me yes, because I went to the clinic, to another clinic, to take a blood sample, and my kid has Brussels. And he has a very late stage of brucellosis. And they have to give him steroids, okay? And the issue with steroids, if you know, I did weightlifting a long time ago, they mess up with your body. And if you put steroids in a 3-year-old boy or 2-year-old boy, you are going to mess with his liver for the whole life. You're going to get out the brucellosis, but he's going to be bad his whole life. So she told me, well, treat him. I'm okay with it. Okay, let's do it. If you can search brucellosis and steroids, you will see the steroids that you need to put it here. So here's the steroids. You need to put it rifapine, dietoctic. Well, the names are really confusing. Well, so I went to the Spooky2 database. In that time, I didn't know how to make the biofeedback scans. And I went for the frequencies of brucellosis. I treated this kid for 6 months. He was 2 years old. After 6 months of treatment, he has no more fever. He has no more problems, no more pain. And I told the mom, well, take him to make a exam. She made it, and here is Brucella negative. Something that the doctor told her was not meant to be cured, and was only meant to be cured or treated, not cured, treated with steroids. Spooky did it in 6 months, no issues. Well, to all of you, thank you for attending. Keep safe. I love being with you. I hope you like it. I did my best, and I hope to see you again very soon. I really hope for all of you to get well as fast as you can and use your equipment for the best solution for you, your relatives, and your loved one. Thank you very much for everything, and I see you later. Bye-bye.